Sheriff Clarke joining us here on the John Fredericks Show. Lots to talk about today. Let's start with Cubs and baseball.
Yeah, John, good morning to your listeners. When it comes to the Chicago Cubs this season anyway, nothing's bizarre. Losing 9 down the stretch, and then they almost kicked the Cardinals out of first place, out of the division crown in the last 3 games of the season. Finally losing on Sunday, and but this the way this season has been. They'd go on streaks like that. They'd win 5, and then they'd lose 7. They'd win 7, and then they'd lose 9. It's kind of been like that the whole year. The ups and downs. You and I have talked about it on the air, and so. Mercifully, I think last week it came to an end. I could see the handwriting on the wall a month ago.
Mercifully.
I told me to keep the faith, but I couldn't.
Mercifully, it came to an end. You sent me, I got to share my audience this. There was one game the Cubs were losing, and maybe it was their 6th or 7th in a row, and Sheriff Clarke texts me in the middle of the night, and he says, please lose and get eliminated so I can just end this misery. It was like at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got up to go to the bathroom. I saw the text. I started laughing. My wife was like, what is so funny? I'm like, oh, David Clarke sent me this text at 1:30 in the morning. I got to swear, I laughed at that. It was so funny. And they did lose, and they did get eliminated. I know, but I'm excited about my Astros. They opened Friday night against the winner of tonight's Oakland-Tampa Bay game. I feel really good about that. We got 3 great starting pitchers. Astros, I think they beat the wild card team in 5, and then they have to go against either the Yankees or Minnesota. We'll see how that plays out. But, Sheriff, I know you'll be rooting for us. Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Oakland. I just don't. We've had trouble with the A's. We just don't match up well. Chris Davis hits us. We can't hit Trevino. I don't like playing the A's, and I think they're a better team than they appear to be. So I don't think Tampa is going to beat them tonight in the road, but I hope they do. I think that's an easier matchup for us. As far as the other series, I mean, everybody thinks it's going to be the Yankees. Minnesota won a lot of games. They won a lot of games, and they hit. And so, I wouldn't write them off. But look, I'm an Astro fan. We got to get through the wild card team, and we'll go from there. We have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If you go to Vegas, the Astros are the favorite and a heavy favorite to win it all. I think they're 2-1. Everybody else is 3.5 to 1 or over. So they're the favorite to win. We'll see what plays out. Hey, you know what? Paper favorites don't matter. You got to play the game. How about those Cowboys?
That's right. Yeah, perfect example, right?
You got to play the
Flying
game.
high, scoring at will, and the next thing you know, you hit a hiccup in the road. But that's all it was. About it.
It's a 16-game season, right? I mean, you're not going to win every game. Slumlord George texts in from Newport News. He says, "Go Nats! The Nationals are alive finally." All right, let's get to politics. I got to tell you, Sheriff, the fake news on Overdrive. I keep sending columns out because I can't even keep up with the lies they do. But yesterday, the president saying, "Look, this is a coup. They're going to go forward with impeachment. They have nothing. They have nothing. Well, what are they doing?"
Well, what they're doing is exactly what the president said. They're still trying to undo and nullify the 2016 election, which he won fair and square. And it's just been one made-up story after another. I detail that in my latest column at townhall.com. And it's just the latest. This impeachment. When this impeachment inquiry started, actually the inquiry didn't start, but the talk of it started the day after the inauguration, actually probably Inauguration Day. Remember Maxine Waters with Impeach 45?
Right.
It started back then. And then ever since they've been looking for reasons, Russia collusion. And it was the Stormy Daniels. And then after that it was the Michael Cohen thing. And it's just one thing after another that they continue to come up with. And it's funny how when this started after the Democrats won the House and old pencil-neck there, Nadler, started this stuff. It was all, we're going to impeach him for Russia collusion. And then all of a sudden now it's this Ukraine telephone call, of which there's nothing there, another big fat nothing burger. But this is the kind of theater that goes on in Washington, D.C. They're totally disconnected from the base voter from the rest of the United States. They will not deal with the issues that most voters sent their representatives to Washington to do. We want immigration reform, want better jobs. Oh, by the way, how about this, John? Story came out yesterday, got very little attention. Household income has risen 6.8% since Trump has taken over as president. A record high, 6.8%. It's nearly $5,000 that median income, household incomes have risen under Donald Trump. So those are the things that the Democrats are trying to deflect from, all of the good things that this man has done as president of the United States, and here they're trying to remove him.
It's really incredible. And you look at this whistleblower thing. I know we talked about this last week, but as it unfolds, Sheriff, I mean, you're law enforcement. This thing seemed too packaged, right? Perfectly lawyered up and written, a third-party person, some kind of a deep stater, coordinates it with the media, coordinates it with Pencil Neck and Nadler. Pelosi then caves to her justice base, and now we're going to go full with impeachment. They're going to impeach him, no question about it. Everybody that's been on the air has said they are going to impeach him. They have the votes to pass it. It goes to the Senate. There's a trial, 2 weeks. He's exonerated. What on earth are the Democrats going to do then? Like, do they have an end game here?
Well, the end game is to try to get to the 2020 election and hope to beat them there, but then they'll keep it going after that. You notice that the articles of impeachment vote won't come until December. All it is a stall, run out the clock, try to get to the end of 2019 so that in the beginning of 2020 we start the primaries, and it'll be the focus on that. And they want to obscure and obstruct up until then. With this information that they supposedly have, again, it's like, the next smoking gun. We thought the Mueller report was going to be the smoking gun. This latest thing, secondhand information has been reported. That wouldn't get you a box of Cracker Jacks in an investigation at the local level. Mm-hmm. Secondhand information is right next to garbage in terms of its usefulness. It may allow you to do certain things, but it certainly wouldn't allow you to get a warrant. You could never get a search warrant at the local level based on secondhand information. And here they're trying to remove a president of the United States based on some secondhand, third-hand, fourth-hand. Who even knows how far back this information went that somebody heard from somebody who heard from somebody who heard. This is incredible, but it's the kind of game playing that goes on in Washington, D.C. Like I said, they won't deal with the stuff that's important to the American people that we sent them there for. They're wasting our time. They're wasting our money. And they think this is, a great script or screenplay for what goes on in Washington, D.C., but it's horrible for the American people. Well, this is another thing that these idiots in Washington, D.C. don't realize, that people largely are uninterested in politics. People like you and I, your listeners, we eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff of national interest like this, but largely the American people do not. So this is not going to have any effect on how people are going to vote in 2020, but these fools out in Washington, D.C. think that this might work.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio app, trucking the truth across America. We're with America's Sheriff David Clarke. Sheriff Clarke, a senior advisor to webuildthewall.us, webuildthewall.us. You can go there for more information. Sheriff, I want to talk about your column in Town Hall the other day. First, Carol, let's go to a quick word from our sponsors. When I get back, the sheriff writing on Town Hall, they demand our respect. Yes, treat us like fools. We'll be right back. Sheriff, interesting. I got a text here from Mark. He said, ask the sheriff, this whole thing actually started right after the election when the Democrat activist wanted the Electoral College delegates not to vote for Trump. I kind of forgot about that. Maybe he's onto something.
Yeah, this is how long ago that this has been and how long it's gone on. Not only that, but remember they challenged some of the election results in states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The votes were challenged,
right,
and recounts had to be had. And you're right. So it goes on even before that. But I think that the high-stakes stuff they tried to pull came, with the Russia collusion hoax. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it's just gone on and on. It was Stormy Daniels. Then it was Michael Cohen. That was going to bring him down. It's just gone on and on for over 2.5 years. And the liberal media, the lying liberal media, has gone along with it. What I like to refer to it as is sky is falling rhetoric. All these things are going to bring this president down. Now they got him. This time, they really have him. And this partisan hack, I said Nadler before, I mean Adam Schiff, this impeachment inquiry, like I said earlier, too, it started with Russia collusion, and now all of a sudden it's this call to the leader, from Trump to the leader of, newly elected leader of Ukraine. And so, several months ago, I penned a column at townhall.com, and, I put it this way: only in the Washington, D.C. bubble can high drama and theater be manufactured by a topic that the media elites and establishment politicians have wet their pants over in excited delirium that the general population have become bored with for some time. And that's what I'm getting at here is the American people generally, they're not paying attention to this stuff. The news media pays attention to it. They have to. But most people are just not interested in this stuff. They're interested in real issues facing this country, and that's what the president stays focused on. He knows what this is. Everybody knows what this is. This is a political witch hunt. They continue to harass the president of the United States to keep him from doing his job. This is unprecedented. Opposition is not unprecedented in politics. You're always going to have a political counter. There's nothing wrong with that. I like the back and forth that goes on. You have to win arguments. You have to convince the American people. And so there's going to be a lot of back and forth. But this isn't back and forth. This is trying to undo the will of the people. Like I said, throw in there the emoluments thing that they said he's guilty of, and then you throw in that, what's that other amendment where they said he's not mentally fit to be...
Oh, the 25th Amendment.
Hold off.
The 25th Amendment. Yeah, we forgot about that. You start adding. You're so right, Sheriff Clarke. You start adding these things up. There was Russia collusion. Then there was obstruction. Then there was Michael Cohen. Then there was Stormy Daniels. Then there was the emoluments clause that nobody even heard of. Then there was a 25th Amendment. The cabinet was going to remove him. Now there's impeachment over Ukraine. Now there's Australia, right? That story I debunked last night in my column. Now there's Australia. I mean, they just go from one to the other. Every day their hair's on fire, and there's some new outrage.
For an entire term, darn near, an entire term, John, they're wasting our time on this nonsense. They won't take care of the business of government. Like I said, these people walk around in Washington, D.C. like they are somebody. When you walk around in some of the Senate office buildings and the House office buildings, these people walk around, these congressmen and senators, like they're high and mighty. I look at these people, I shake my head. I say, you guys are a bunch of buffoons. I say it to myself. You guys are a bunch of buffoons. You're a bunch of amateurs. You think that people hold you in esteem, but in fact, you guys look like a bunch of jokers.
Of course, you say that to yourself. But yeah, I mean, there is a degree of self-importance that goes on when you walk around the Capitol inside the halls. There's no question about it. They have their own elevator and they have their own train to get to vote. And so there's a lot of them have been there forever. So there's some self-righteousness that goes on. But let me just ask you one other thing. I asked this to an earlier guest. I want to get your take on it. In a tweet yesterday, the president called this, he likened this to a coup. And I kind of laughed when I saw it, but then I got to thinking about it. You think he's onto something?
Sure he is. I don't think that's too over the top. I don't think it's hyperbole. Like I said, they've been harassing this man going on 3 years now, and they are trying to remove him. In a true sense of a coup, it's usually a violent way of doing it. But this is kind of violent if you think about it, because of how they've tarred and feathered this man, his reputation, his family. Oh, before long, when this fizzles out, trust me, write this one down, John. They'll be back on trying to get hold of Trump's taxes. because that
that's
fills
the new
void
one.
when there's a lull in
when there's a lull, they go after the
taxes. Well, I think the president is right in doing it this way, facing this thing head on. Don't sit down or lay down and take this. Fight back. That's why we elected this man. That's what makes him special, which makes him different. He came onto the scene in Washington like a bull in a china shop, and he upset the apple cart from the status quo and the way things were, and it wasn't working. It led to nothing more than $21 trillion in debt, along with other problems, open borders. And so he's there, and he made it clear he was going to go to Washington and make a difference and to fix things, get stuff done, and that's exactly what he's done.
All right, we're out of time. Sheriff David Clarke, America Sheriff, thanks for being with us. You can follow him on his webpage. You go to americasheriff.com. He's also senior advisor to WeBuildTheWall.us. Sheriff, go Astros this weekend. Thanks for being with us right here on the John Fredericks Radio Network.